Where's the love for the American League? The National League has dominated ESPN.com's MLB Person of the Year voting. The top vote getter, Bryce Harper, the NL MVP. At number 2, Joe Maddon, the Cubs manager and the NL's Manager of the Year. And at number 3, Jake Arrieta, the NL Cy Young winner. Kerry Chow, joined by ESPN MLB senior writer Jerry Crasnick. Jerry, all this love for the National League over the American League. Do you agree with the results?
Well, Kerry, actually I didn't. I voted for Dayton Moore, the general manager of the Kansas City Royals, because I thought the honor should go to somebody who was with the team that won it all. I also think he could have made some allowances for the New York Mets. I mean, here was a team that certainly was a huge story, but there were probably more team stories. On an individual basis, it's probably hard to argue with Bryce Harper. He's always a guy who's very compelling. He's sort of a lightning rod for fans who either love him or hate him. I think the difference this year, obviously, was he took his game to a completely new level, dominated the National League, won the MVP award, even mixed in some drama at the end of the year with that dugout confrontation with Jonathan Papelbon. And then behind him, you have the two Cubs, Maddon and Arrieta, and it just shows what kind of a story the Cubs can be when they play well. And if the Cubs win the World Series this year and finally break that drought, we might have 5 Cubs at the top of the list next year.
Yeah, I can definitely foresee a lot of Cubby love perhaps next year. Are you surprised that there weren't actually more votes for the Royals? Because as you mentioned, they are the world champs. And over the course of the season, they made a lot of key moves. They stayed atop the rankings. But not just that, come trade deadline season, they also made some key moves to maintain in that first position.
Well, that was one of the reasons I voted for Dayton Moore. You know, I felt like here's a guy who really stayed the course with a franchise that did it the right way, with scouting, with player development, with sticking with young players like Hosmer and Moustakas. But again, the Royals were probably more of a team accomplishment. They didn't have that one huge star, and I think that's why people might have gravitated toward some of the other selections. I just felt like Dayton Moore, coming from Atlanta, sort of having that emphasis on scouting, player development, homegrown players, to me, and maybe because I covered the Royals throughout the postseason and I saw what an impact he had on the mindset in that organization from top to bottom, he was my easy choice, or maybe not easy choice, but he was my sort of immediate selection. And, I think most of the voters tended to gravitate toward guys on the field who did special things. And given Bryce Harper's numbers and his impact on the game last year, he's certainly a worthy selection.
Yeah, the voters gravitated to guys on the field or just Cubs in general. The MLB Person of the Year, always a debatable topic. ESPN senior MLB writer Jerry Crasnick. Thanks for joining us, Jerry.